Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for participating in this important community event. The Columbia Basin Trust has been running this program since 1998, so now it's 20 years, and in the past 20 years, over $3.3 million have been delivered in the local community for different projects. That means $160,000 per year on average, and of course in the first few years it was fewer dollars, and in the past 10 years more dollars on average. The program is also called Affected Areas. I would like to spend a few words about that concept for the newcomer to the town and also for the younger generation. 1974, the Mica Dam was completed, and over 600 square kilometers were flooded. Just to put it in comparison, the greater Toronto area is around 630 kilometers. Vancouver City, only 130 kilometers. The Canoe Reach, that's the part that from the Mica Dam comes up all the way to Valemount, it's around 300 square kilometers. Of course, that meant a loss of cultural values. Think this hot springs for the Sim, recreational values, hot springs again. And at the same time also, it had a big impact on the economy of Valemount. In the boom years, forestry used to have an annual allowable cut of 300,000 cubic meters. I have not translated that in swimming pools, right? They always tell you it's so many swimming pools of Olympic size, but I have translated in something different that can give you the measure. 300,000 cubic meters correspond to one telephone pole or power pole for every 1 meter or 1 yard or 3 feet, all the way from Valemount to Kamloops. So think, every 3 feet you have one telephone pole. That was the potential of every year, right? So in 2 or 3 years you can really make a wall of that going south and north all the way to Kamloops. And it just kind of shows you the big economic impact that that had by flooding that whole area. And that's why it's important to keep in mind that, of course, Valemount is an affected area by the Mica Dam and by the King Basket Reservoir. For the old-timers, they know we also had a mini climatic change. So that means in the wintertime we no longer have so much snow as we used to have since 1974, for the simple reason that the winds that come along the King Basket Lake take up big speeds, and they keep away all the low pressures that come in from the southwest. These are just kind of few examples, and of course let's not forget the sandstorms that we have in the spring. However, Columbia Basin Trust for the past 20 years has done a great thing by making sure that we could implement many local projects. I'm going now to talk briefly about what's going to happen tonight and in the next few days. Let me just kind of turn on here the clicker that also the presenter will be using later on, okay? So first of all, tonight this meeting is very important. The public input, your evaluation, will represent 30% of the total of the evaluation of each project presented by the various organizations. Then the adjudication committee will review the projects, and will review the projects according to those criteria. Does the project benefit the community? And that will have a value of 20%. The methodology, what are some of the objectives, goals, How will the project be measured by the organization? That's another 10%. What are the partners, potential partners, financial partners? Does the project or the organization also have support from other organizations, support, letters of support, and all those kind of things? The capacity of planning, implementing the project. Does the organization have a type of management plan? That would be that part. And of course, the final part, also very important. First of all, has the organization, are the financial statements in order? Does the organization also have other financial contributions? So those are the important criteria that the adjudication committee will also be using for evaluating all the different projects. Important dates, of course tonight, the most important one is the public meeting and the public input. On March 14th, the adjudication committee will meet, and it will be a meeting in camera according to the procedure bylaw of the Village of Valemount, and they will review, they will have individually first reviewed all the projects, and they will also discuss then of course the projects and give a final evaluation. And then the adjudication committee will make recommendations, and the recommendations go to council, and council may ratify those recommendations on March 26th. You have received this evaluation sheet. The order in which the presentations will be given tonight is a first come, first served order. That means how the applications were submitted to the village office. Each project, you can give it a score, and that score, here it says 0 is when you think it's not applicable or you don't want to give any type of evaluation or value to the project concept or idea. And then from 1 to 5, 1 being low support and 5 very strong support. You can also translate it in percentages. So probably 0 would be 0%, 1 would be 20%, 2, 40, 3, 60, 80, and all the way to 100%. You are allowed to not give any values to any of these groups. You're also allowed to give the same, let's say, 5 points to each project. So you're not asked to make a list of priorities, so it's not going first, second, third, fourth, fifth, but you're just kind of giving a value to each project. And then the last thing, the presenters, they will have 3 minutes for their presentation, and then there's going to be a question and answer time, and that will be 2 minutes in total, but that will not include the time of the question, okay? So that we will not take away any time of that when somebody is asking the questions. Last thing for the presenter, we've got the Toastmasters here, and they will help us in keeping track of time. And they've got the 3 lights, and I think it's 1 minute, it's the green light, so you've got 3 minutes in total for the presentation. 1 minute is the green light, yellow is 30 seconds, and red, please stop with your presentation. And I know they also have a stop sign, just to really make sure. And we even mentioned to somebody, maybe they will cut off the microphone. Now, it's really important that the presentations and also the questions, please use the microphone for one simple reason, because that also helps the quality for the recording. And then when VCTV will present the event on TV, that of course the sound and the audio is in really good quality. Okay, thank you very much again for being here tonight and for participating in this important community event. And so we'll start right away with the Valemount Community Sports Day Association. This is forwards. Okay. And this is backwards. Okay. Yeah, it's all the way up there. Sorry.
Yay, I get to go first. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Scheller, and I'm from the current Valemount Community Sports Day Association board. This with me is Regina Bergen. She is our parade marshal. Valemount Days has been an annual event for over 38 years. It states in our bylaws that the purposes of the society are A, to promote and organize a sport day weekend in Valemount annually, to govern and supervise all events, to raise funds for the purpose of improving the sports grounds. We had been told that the roof of the beer gardens leaked. Then we were told it had been fixed. We were also told that we were not allowed to have a deep fryer inside the concession because there is no ventilation or fire suppression system. The existing 60 amp electrical panel would not support a deep fryer as is. It was brought to our attention that quite often the fuses blow, usually during peak concession times. And we were told that the stove is not 100% functional. The beer garden's roof, during the event, when we were going around to the different stages to collect the funds or to make change for the floats, we discovered that yes, the beer garden's roof still leaks. One of the volunteers was so cold and wet from the rain dripping on her all day that she couldn't even count out the money. I wouldn't want to volunteer in those conditions. I don't think anyone would. Soon after the event was completed, we wrote a letter to the village office requesting quotes to have the roof repaired as soon as possible. We thought we could afford to pay for the roof repair ourselves, and if not, we could apply for a grant. We also requested the upgrade to the concession ventilation system, add a fire suppression system, and upgrade the electrical so we could have the deep fryer and possibly a new stove for it. The village office responded. They own the building, so they asked if we could replace the roof rather than just repair it. So when we met the village office to go over the quotes, we decided that we would need to apply for the funding because it was more expensive than we thought. The village got the quotes for us, and just for the roof replacement, it's $19,330.55. The concession upgrades, we feel the upgrades to the concession to allow us to have a deep fryer would increase our profits and would be able to contribute more funds to the future events and upgrades. More groups from the community may want to use the concession as well if it's upgraded. The quotes for the ventilation, fire suppression system, electrical upgrade, deep fryer and stove were also more than what we were expecting and not within our budget. They came to $45,926.36. Now that we know it will be more expensive than we initially thought, we are willing to have to split it up to 2 or 3 phases to get it completed. Phase 1, we would like to have everything that we're asking for. Oh, sorry, I'm out of time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now, if there are any questions, we've got 2 microphones here in both aisles, left and right side. So, is there anybody who's got a question? Yes, please, then.
So, specifically, was the stove included in the first phase? Or what? Could you clearly describe what you're asking for the first phase?
Okay, we're asking for the beer garden roof, and then the upgrades to the concession we want the ventilation, the fire suppression, the electrical upgrade, deep fryer, and stove. But I know that's a lot that we're asking for, so if we don't get the full $64,000, we're willing to split it up and do what we can this year, and whatever we can't do this year, we'll put it on to next year's phase. Does that make sense? Any other questions?
I'm just wondering if you've considered moving the events to the newer ball field, like at the John Osachik Park, because then I know those buildings are in better shape, and it just seems like we're, you know, what's the word? Putting lipstick on pigs there.
it was brought to our attention for that too, but with the bouncy castles being at the arena, we just feel if we're sending people to other locations, that if people leave the grounds, they're not going to come back. And in our bylaws, the mandate is that profits from the mountain days go to the upgrade of the sportsplex. So that's why we're looking just at the sportsplex right now. Hopefully we'll get more baseball teams and we can expand and include the Osatchuk Park, but right now we don't have as many baseball players as we used to. Anyone else?
Okay, then thank you very much. Okay, next group, Varda. And then please the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Start now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis. I'm General Manager for the Valemount Area Recreation Development Association. We're here to apply for further development of the Valemount Bike Park. So this would be the 5th phase this year. You know, we can't believe it's already phase 5. We're pretty excited. You know, it's very safe to say that these mountain bike trail systems have changed our community, and you know, I think it's done it in many ways. You know, first off is socially. You know, I see my friends every day. How rad is that, right? It's been pretty. Back before we had our trail systems, you know, we need a reason to go out, and you know, these trails I think have given us a reason to get out and see our friends, and I think that's pretty exciting. We're seeing more and more people out on those trails, and you know, it's such an amazing feeling. You know, and that's from young and old as well. You know, we're building a healthier community out there. Now, you know, you can't tell me that getting out on your bike and pedaling up to this location on Monday grind doesn't make you sweat, right? It's great to see people outside, you know, burning, you know, muscle power and just making a healthier lifestyle. And I think these trails have really done that. And then economically, you know, we've seen the startup of 2 brand new businesses in Valemount that would not be here without the bike park, and that's Peak Shuttles and Bikes and Lights. And you know, that's pretty rad to say. And the benefits to the local systems or the local current businesses, you know, they do not go unnoticed. The campgrounds, the bakeries, bikers love beer. You know, it's a community that the mountain bike community embraces the communities that they head to. They don't just head off into the bush and hide. They really embrace the local markets, and I believe they really add to that local economy. You know, we have endless potential out there, and I think, you know, as much as we want to grow Valemount, I think we can. And it's pretty cool to see that other people really appreciate the trail system as much as we do. This year we're applying for 3 new additions, so 3 new trails. One is a 1.7 kilometer long downhill trail, starting from the top of the mountain and going down to one of our current trailheads. So adding a top to bottom option that's blue, where now we only have a black option, so we're trying to increase accessibility to the mountain. Another blue all-mountain style taking off from the midpoint of Trapline. This is more of a technical pedal-friendly trail off of the new Trapline trail. And then the third is a climbing trail that takes us off of a dusty Forest Service road and brings us back up to the viewpoint lookout on the Swift Mountainside. You know, what's next? Again, we still got more planning. The success of the master plan from phase 1 is why our project was so successful. Yor did a great job with that. We're now out of shovel-ready trail projects, and we're applying to do another phase of the master plan. So we're ideally trying to lay out up to 30 kilometers of trail this summer, depending on the cost of per kilometer per meter trail layout. And that led to the success that we're doing. And rest assured, the center focus of the new master plan is a very large green, approximately 8 kilometer long loop that's going to be accessible to everybody over on the north side of Swift Mountain. She's got her finger on the button. And again, it'll be an addendum to the Valemount Trails master plan, and as well as some staging area improvements.
I will start with one question submitted by the committee, and it says, as part of the proposed master plan, is Varda considering novice level cross-country trails to appeal to a wider demographic and thus more people in the community?
So I think I addressed that question just in my last rushing statement there. The center focus of the new trail system over on where we're hoping to put it would be the north side of Swift Creek. The center focus would be a green center loop, so that's the lowest rating, the beginner level rating. And then that off of that green loop and in the middle of that green loop would be some more of the blue and black type of riding. So the center focus of the new master plan is a large green loop that is accessible to anybody.
Does the money you're asking for cover the whole project, or do you have other money you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, thanks, great question. So there's a slide up there I never was able to get to. Something really cool this year is the mountain bikers themselves are also bringing money to the table. So the mountain bikers themselves are putting up $10,000 towards the project. We have $20,000 confirmed from the Columbia Basin Trust. We're waiting, the NDIT, the Northern Development Trust, is simply waiting on confirmation of this grant before they can approve the grant we've asked for them. So out of a $120,000 ask, total project value story, we're bringing to the table $75,000.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much for this. Next group, Canoe Valley Community Association.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to this community event. I'm from the Canoe Valley Community Association, and my name is Rita. I'm the vice president and the association liaison for public grant writing and public presentations. And I'm here tonight asking for events. If you've been in attendance in all the other years that we put proposals forward, we have been working for the last 4 years on achieving licensed daycare spaces in town, but it's not licensed daycare, it's for after-school programming along the lines of a Boys and Girls Club, and we've been building our programming structures and everything over the last 4 years, and we've received funding from Columbia Basin Trust at numerous levels to help us out. And now we're ready to go for our licensing. We had to have our staff certified as responsible adults, and we were helped through Columbia Basin Trust to get our staff certified and everything. And now, in order to get our licensing, we have to have an enclosed area for licensing approval, because the area that we exist in is deemed a high traffic area with the railway tracks there, and the library and the museum in Main Street with the hotel and the wine and beer, and the Alpine Country Rentals is a business area. So we have to have a safe and enclosed space for our kids to achieve our licensing. And one of the main reasons why we want to get licensed and went that route, because we can only hold programming that's under 13 weeks. So that doesn't afford the families in this community stable after-school care and programming and school closure programming, because we can only hold one program. So we can only hold swimming for 9 weeks out of the year. So they can only go to swimming for 9 weeks. But if we're licensed, they can go swimming every week. They can do cooking every day of every week. So we were limited in how long we could hold programming, so the parents didn't have any stable after-school care until we get licensing. And then not only that, once we're licensed, they can apply for subsidies for their children's swim program, for their children's cross-country ski programming, for their children's cooking programming. So licensing, us achieving licensing, means it helps the community families have stable places for after school, for pro-D days, for spring break, for Christmas break, because we couldn't hold programming just in those things. We had to do like a 9-week program, and so if we did a 3-week program for spring break, we couldn't do Christmas break, because we were only allowed to do one program of one thing per year, or we had to be licensed. So we've been striving for licensing for the last 4 years, and so now we found out we just need to keep our kids safe, and that's what they told us. And the benefit of the fence, if you saw the wooden fence at the beginning, it's also sound suppression, and then it opens up and it allows families and mothers and fathers and caregivers from 0 to 6 to use the backyard space for programming to keep their children safe for 0 to 6 programming, and they can have the space from first thing in the morning until the afternoon. So we're visualizing it as an open community space whereby the public can't be there between 3 and 5 after school or on Pro-D days. But every other day of the week it would be open and available to the community to utilize as a safe and enclosed space. And so I thank you very much for your support. Keep our children safe, and you were the direct reason for our success. And together we're going to enhance the life for our children in the community. So thank you.
I will open the questions here with a question from the committee. Are you working to get licensing for an after-school and school closure program or a second daycare?
No, it's not a second daycare. We're not allowed, but we don't want to go into the daycare business. We just want school closure programming, which is what we've been working on for the last 4 years. So we've been running cooking programs, ski programs, swim programs, and summer break programs, just for school closure programming, because that's an identified need that parents need, is to have safe, secure after-school programming. So that's all we're doing, and we're going to be a part of our. We just received gaming grant money to help us with our children's programming. So we've got funding for our children's programming to carry us through, to help us through into our licensing. We've been working with Child Care Referral Services, Resources, which is Canadian-wide, and they've been working with Kootenai Kids Care, which is part of the Columbia Basin Trust, and they help it. So we've received funding from them to help us get us towards our licensing. So we're going for about $50,000 from the BC expanded child care license spaces, and we've got the grant in the works for that to accommodate the fence. But what it is, we're applying for the stuff that needs to be done on the inside still, and for a van. So there's all sorts of agencies that have been funding us all the way along the line, from Northern Health to gaming grants to CBT at many, many, many levels. Thank God for them. So that's where it's just for school licensing program. It's not at all for daycare spaces. It's just for school children, the ages of 6 to 12, for programming along the lines of the Boys and Girls Club. Anybody?
No? Okay.
All right, thank you so much for listening.
Next group, the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society.
I'm happy to take it. I'm keeping this short and simple. I'm Mrs. Marion Farquharson, and I'm speaking to you on behalf of the board of the Valemount Senior Citizens Housing Society. And we're asking for a grant of $8,114 to do upgrades on room 4 in the Golden Years Lodge. Now, in 1977, French was adopted as the official language in Canada. I thought you'd like to know these things. Star Wars started. Elvis Presley died. That's really important. And they started building Golden Years Lodge, phase 1. They built it good and they built it strong, and it hasn't been changed since. It hasn't been upgraded. The rooms have been painted and the rooms have been maintained to meet, but not changed to meet today's expected standards for seniors. The present board are currently working on a strategic plan for the future. Part of that plan is to renovate and update rooms one by one. We need a prototype to budget for the costs. We've started on the first room. The old carpet has been lifted. Yes, 1977. A new vinyl laminate laid. We successfully applied to Four Rivers for money to completely renovate the bathroom, putting in a shower and removing the old bath. This work is in progress. We are asking Columbia Basin Trust for a grant of $8,114 to renovate the kitchen area, the cupboards, handles, countertop. And we need this money to replace the patio mosquito doors and to replace the wardrobe doors, to replace twist taps with levers, to improve light switches, and replace floor heating covers. Our seniors have worked hard for the community all their lives. They should have the opportunity to be comfortable and secure in their homes. They need our care. We hope you can help us financially. Please, we're asking for a grant of $8,114. Thank you. By the way, Montreal won the Stanley Cup for the 20th year, beating the Boston Bruins by 4-0. Thank you.
Please, if there are any questions. Oh, there's the question.
Just for those who don't know the lodge, which one is room 4? And by the way, the upgrades look really awesome.
Room 4 is in the first phase, the oldest phase when you go in past the statues. And it's the middle one on the right-hand side, facing on to the garden at the back. Thank you.
Next group, Valemount Secondary School.
Awesome. Good evening. My name is Derek Shaw. I'm principal here at the school. On the way through the doors, I learned the rule about the 3 minutes, so I'm going to start with my closing statement because I think it's one of the important things I want to make sure I say. I would like everybody to go home tonight or to the coffee shop tomorrow and have a discussion about the presentation you're about to see. And talk about anything that's mental health related, because that's what we need to start doing. The more we make this the norm, the faster that we will remove the stigma and the healthier our community will become. So I'm here tonight to talk about bringing in Clint and Joni Malarchuk. He was a goalie in the NHL who nearly died on the ice in March 1989 when a skate from another player cut his artery in his neck. He was bleeding to death on the ice. I read on his website where he shared that all he could think about that time was that he did not want his mother to watch him die on TV. 10 days later, he was back on the ice, a move today that he sees was a mistake. Because as a result, he began experiencing nightmares about the incident, began suffering from depression and anxiety, and developed a dependence on alcohol and prescription drugs that would eventually lead to him shooting himself in the head in an attempted suicide. Now he and his wife are on the same stage together, sharing their past experience to groups all over the world. So why do I want to bring this type of presentation to McBride Secondary and to McBride? Bad move there. Mr. Kangley did that to me. To Valemount Secondary and to the community of Valemount. The reason I want to do that is a few reasons. One of them being this slide here. I am one of a number of individuals who meet each month as the Valemount Youth Mental Health Collaborative. In January, it was decided that perhaps one of the best ways to support the youth would be to start by asking them where they needed support and what they thought it would look like. In February, the students from grades 7 to 12 were surveyed. This slide depicts the results of 66 of the 80 students from grades 8 to 12 in the high school here. And as you can see, the students told us that they experience anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and loneliness, and they use drugs and alcohol. When asked what they saw as support, we were told that the guest speaker or presentation would be the #1 response. This got me to searching for the internet and calling schools between Dawson Creek and Kelowna, trying to find out what other schools had brought in for presentations. The answer was there's nothing out there, and not in the last 5 years. My calls to Northern Health come up empty. RVCS program coordinator did extensive research and provided me with a few names. Theo Fleury, Rob Nash were two that I contacted. Rob Nash is booked solid for over the next 2 years, and he's not coming anywhere close to Valemount. Theo was willing to come to this community for 10 grand and speak to the school for an additional $2,500 an hour. Then a friend, Chris Cook, told me about Chris Malarchuk. I contacted him and he shared the survey data asking him to come to speak to our community. His response was quick, sincere, and personal, demonstrating an understanding of the size of our school and our town. And I also shared with him that we lost our community lost someone due to suicide earlier this year, and that we had several veterans who suffer from PTSD who would also benefit from him speaking. There are a lot of awesome programs on the messages that support the importance of talking about mental health, and I left the celebration of life earlier this year, saddened by the loss, but encouraged by the conversations that were shared. I knew then that I wanted to do more to make conversations happen, and not just share an image on my device suggesting it is a good idea to make things happen. Thank you very much for your time.
Questions? Oh, I got one from the committee. Sorry. What professional follow-up do you plan after the event? That will be one question, and then we've got a second. Okay.
So after the event, we plan to do another survey of the students to see what it is that they took away from the survey and if they felt it was effective and helpful. I would also like to do a community survey because the presentation will be during the day for the students, and then as well at night at 7 o'clock for the community to come in and experience the Malarchuks and hear their story. So surveys as well as counselors. We'll be observing kids and community members to see if anybody is triggered and ensuring that we are educating people as to who to talk to in our community and where help and support is available.
There's one more question from the committee. What local resources have you used to address this issue so far?
Okay. So again, the survey was completed on February the 4th, and what I shared to Mr. Malarchuk in an email was that if you look at the data, you would think that our kids are pretty tough, but the opposite is true. I would invite anybody to come into school tomorrow, pick 2 random names out of a hat, and I'd have no problem leaving both my children in those 2 people's care for the rest of the day. But they are suffering on the inside. So since the survey has been done, things have kind of fallen together for us. Our VCS has been very successful in helping to bring a program called Safe Teen in. They're coming on April the 17th, and they'll discuss a lot of the same things that the students are saying they're experiencing. The BC Schizophrenia Society has committed to coming up and giving a free presentation to the students. It's called Reach Out Psychosis, a tour that used to come to McBride several years, and they just quit coming to the north. But through our VCS and my own persistence this year, they agreed to come to Valemount on their way to the north. And lastly, we're in the discussions with Michelle Dallaire, who is a mindfulness coach, instructor, and she is going to be coming into the school and offering a program of 15 sessions of mindful learning strategies for the students that are going to take place in the school, which will address the anxiety, self-esteem, and depression issues. So.
Thank you. No other questions? Thank you.
No, thank you.
Next group, Valemount College Society.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Cromhout, and I'm the College Director for Valemount College. This is Gail Durbich, she's our campus assistant. For tonight, our presentation will provide information in the following areas. Some basic information about the college, an update on where we are now, and including the challenges. So we are seeking $32,054 to hire a marketing contractor to help promote the college, which will lead to sales. Okay, Gail will now talk about our mandate.
Thanks, Eric. So we are a non-profit social enterprise. Our mandate is also to promote economic development by bringing in new dollars and tax revenue to the community. We will create new employment, fill labour shortage, and promote the success and growth of new businesses. Now Eric will talk about our programs.
Okay, so at the college now, we've now got through the government accreditation for the college. we're doing tourism administration program, rural entrepreneurship, and the small business program, as well as the Mount Adventure Tourism program. So we're now recruiting for students for these programs. Over to Gail.
Thank you. So marketing is essential for generating student enrollment leads and producing sales. Essentially, the Ministry of Advanced Education took over a year to approve our first 3 programs. As a result, the money set aside for marketing had to be used for operations. So, in a nutshell, startup marketing funds are now required. Eric will now talk about how the funds will be used.
Okay, so the funding will be used to hire marketing consultants who will align our digital marketing. So, for example, they're going to help us to align social media with a lot of other digital tools with our website, okay, which will lead to generate sales and leads, okay. So we're going to continue with the Valemount College branding and development. They're going to help us do that. And basically, okay, so how will you and the community benefit from this project? Okay, well first, economic development. So if you think about the students bringing new dollars into our community when they pay for accommodation, necessities, and entertainment, okay, it's going to create jobs. So local companies will benefit from our work experience program. So short-term seasonal jobs will be able to be filled by our graduates. Valemount College will contract out to local companies and will provide post-secondary training for the community. So increased tax revenue. So we also showcase Valemount. When all the progressive changes that are happening here today makes it more attractive for investors, tourists, business entrepreneurs, and others. So basically that's what we have to offer. Thanks for your time.
I open the questions with a question from the Education Committee. How many students do you project to attend the college in 1 year? So not the first year, but in 1 year?
As many as possible. Okay, so I just got through, in general, I took it to mean the first year, we're aiming for as many students as possible. So I've just finished with the recruitment drive. I did the whole Cariboo region, probably around eight high schools, and presented to more than 100 students. So for the first year, we're looking at hopefully around 52. If we think about this from a community perspective, if each student spends $1,218-ish on accommodations, food and necessities, and just miscellaneous stuff, we can think about one student over a 12-month period would spend $15,372. So with 52 students, that's $368,928 injected into Valemount. So this is a very, very good thing. Okay, if we do the maximum of what the government allows us to for the numbers of students in Valemount, if we fill up the school and run it over the 12-month period, you can expect around $2.8 million to be injected into this community.
Any other questions?
Do you have a marketing company in mind?
Yeah, we've been tendering, putting out tenders for a few now. We have not yet made a decision, but we've received quotes, which is what the quote for CBT was based on.
Okay, and how will you make that decision?
That decision will be made with Gail and I, as well as based on the costs and with our board.
Right, and are these reputable marketing companies?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Last but not least, the Valemount Entertainment Society.
Thank you. Thanks. The The Valemount Entertainment Society, in addition to operating VCTV, we broadcast 8 television channels and 3 radio stations to the community over the air. This year, from April to September, Shaw Broadcast, who provides the signals that we send out to the community, are switching from MPEG-2 format to MPEG-4 format. All of our existing satellite receivers, and we have 1 for each channel, so we have 8 satellite receivers for TV and 3 for radio. All of them operate under the MPEG-2 format and will become obsolete at the end of September when Shaw actually pulls the plug on MPEG-2. So we are required to continue to deliver these services. We need to upgrade our receivers from MPEG-2 to MPEG-4. Fortunately, the new technology means lesser bandwidth, so instead of having to replace 8 units, we have to replace 2 with 2 MPEG-4 units. So that's what we're planning to do this year. That's what we need to do. If we don't have them, as I said, we're not going to have the TV and radio stations in there. The Society has put aside some money. We purchased a new satellite dish, which is required because they're also moving some channels to Anik G2 satellite. We will be replacing the radio receivers, which are much less expensive than the television receivers. But the cost for the 2 receivers, including taxes and shipping, etc., is $20,366. So if we don't have that funding, we're going to actually have to stop providing television and radio services for the community. So that's what we need to do. Unfortunately, technology has done that. But there are some side benefits to it. It will allow us to offer more channels. We're going to be able to offer 2 new channels almost immediately in digital. We're also switching all of our channels, remaining channels, over the course of the next few months from analog to digital, so they'll all be digital TV. Excuse me, digital TV. We're hoping to add another radio station as well. And then next year we hope to be able to add 5 more channels, and the following year another 5. So our goal is to go from our current 8 up to 20, all in digital TV. And we've received 2 bids, and the lowest bid was $20,366. Thank you.
Any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you.
So again, we have had a chance to listen to all the different presentations. Please fill out the forms. Drop off your form at the door that's on the east side of the building here. So when you go up on my left side, and the village will then, of course, compute the results and pass them on to the adjudication committee. And then you will hear about the total results at the March, I think, 24th. That's the council meeting. So thank you again for coming out tonight, and thank you again for participating in this important community. Everybody, good evening.